companies were trying to go too far too quickly, determined to be the pioneer in the subject that jumped ahead and wanted to use their carbon credential as a metric to run their business. We start with internal focus on basic operations such as reducing energy consumption, waste, and immediate impact on the environment.
Power Lunch, sponsored by Eltec, leading technologies, touching lives.
Welcome back. You're watching Power Lunch. Well, PwC predicts that video games will be the fastest growing form of mass media over the next few years, with a global value of $65. The video games industry is already over twice the size of recorded music. And joining me now to discuss the industry from a South African perspective is Ramone Pickover. He's Games Category Manager over at Kalahari, and he joins us from our studios in Cape Town. And then Philip Court, CEO of Megarom, with me here in studio this afternoon. Thanks and welcome to you both. Let's perhaps start off on your end, Ramone. I mean, we're putting the gaming industry in the spotlight today, and as we get closer to Christmas and Christmas lists of both adults and children get drawn up, you know, we really put the focus on the video game industry as it's become more commercial. What kind of appetite are we looking for games in South Africa?
Okay, well, the component of games in South Africa is really made up of, hardcore gamers as well as casual gamers. We'd say console gamers make up about 1.5 million in this, gamers in this country. PC gamers, 500, and casual gamers make up about 3 million. That includes mobile and social network. So, when you look at hardcore gamers who play on console and PC, those guys are generally playing titles like Battlefield, Call of Duty, Skyrim, Uncharted, just to name a few.
Okay, so that's the status of things right now, Philip. It's hard to assess because we don't know where we're coming from. So let's assess past versus present. I mean, just how much of a growth have we seen?
I think we've had a fantastic growth. I mean, in the past, we've seen people coming from more of a hardcore environment, but with technology coming through, we've seen that casual market coming through very, very nicely.
Is there a change in the demographic of the South African gamer that's happening in tandem? Because I'm sure that's something you're able to collate looking at, who you're selling to, and not only specifically people, but maybe the geographies that you're most exposed to.
Oh, we definitely have. If you look at where gaming in South Africa has been, the demographics have been targeted towards like the 16 to 25-year-old. Mm-hmm. And then the other side, which we've been seeing, is the female market, which is more heading towards the casual market, being Wii and DS, and then growing into the likes of Connect and Move, yeah, which is then PS3 and Xbox.
Absolutely. So that growing demand is happening in a big way, Ramone, not only from, just how much growth you're seeing in terms of what you're selling, but who you're selling to on a category basis. What's driving demand?
Well, what's driving demand at present are, there are a lot of key titles this year that have really driven things forward. So it's like Battlefield 3, which was one of the highest titles this year that sold through in the market. And then, close second was Call of Duty. So it was literally actually a war between games. But a larger component of that was also driven by the casual gaming market, which, as Philip said, is a female market usually. So, you're talking your Wii's, your 3DS's, and that's usually mommies buying that for their children. So, we've got a slightly different demographic compared to the rest of the market. Ours is mainly built up from adults upwards. So, you're talking about 25 to 40.
Yeah, while that demand is building up and is there, I mean, let's explore some of the challenges that this video games market actually faces. I mean, economic woes has got to be one of those factors on the list, because these games and set-top boxes aren't necessarily cheap, Ramone.
That's correct. Well, we are foreseeing that, because of the dollar, the rand-dollar exchange, we're going to see a decline, a price increase on consoles in the next year. So, that said, we're still seeing very positive growth in the industry. So, I'm not sure it's going to hit it that hard, because gaming is an interesting market in the sense that people are kind of changing from gaming to, from movies and music to gaming. So, we are going to see those changes take place.
Well, while those changes take place, to what extent do we have to consider piracy as a possible threat to the industry? I mean, just how prolific a phenomenon is this, and is it denting the market right now, Philip?
I think it definitely is denting it in a way, but there has definitely been an improvement. If you look at in the past with all the technology and security that they've put into gaming, it's definitely you can say stopped a lot of the piracy out there.
Okay, what about constraints? I mean, to what extent is that coming to bear? Because we've got multiplayer and online-based games coming more and more apparent. To what extent does that factor come to bear on growth in this sector?
I think it's hugely. I mean, if you look at the online capability that's hit our market, it's incredible. We're also finding that there's certain just online games that are out there. If you look at the latest Modern Warfare 3, a huge portion of that is multiplayer and online.
Okay, so let's get your view, Ramone, on those challenges, both piracy and then infrastructure constraints. What's your view on them impacting the industry right now?
Well, right now I'd say that piracy is quite relevant in the industry, but there are things that actually prevent piracy, especially on consoles, because they have a lot of protection built into the consoles to actually prevent piracy. So, I don't think we're seeing as hard a hit as the music industry. So, from that respect, I mean, we can still see that a lot of online players and a lot of the technology that's been built into the games to actually protect it from piracy is preventing a lot of this. So, like as an example, in Call of Duty and as well as in Battlefield, you actually have to log into their servers, and you have to have a registered copy of the game to actually play it. So that's really where I think that's the industry itself is combating it very well, so I think from there that's very positive.
Of course, while those are some of the challenges, Ramone, that the industry has to contend with, there's some opportunity as well. I've been reading that there's been a noticeable increase in the commercialization of video game merchandise, specifically, where video game images are projected to market everyday products. Does it impact shopping? Is this being seen as a good or bad thing for the industry?
Well, I think it is a very positive thing, and I think that from there, if you have a look at those components, those type of things will drive the market further, because it is a growing market. We're looking at probably a 30% growth year on year, as an industry. So if you have a look at that, you're going to have more players in the field, and from an advertising perspective, that's very positive as well.
Okay, so moving forward, Philip, what are your projections in terms of the kind of growth we're anticipated to see in South Africa, and do you see that spilling over to the rest of the continent?
I think it definitely is. I mean, we've definitely seen some very nice growth over the last year to 2 years. This year, with the economy and the disposable income of certain, of general consumer out there, it's been relatively tough. Yeah, it really has.
Okay, so that's the state of the gaming industry right here in South Africa. Of course, we've been unpacking it with Ramone Pickover, category manager of games at Kalahari, and then Philip Court, CEO of Megarom as well. Before we go, I just want to give you some insight into some research that we found. I mean, top 5 highest grossing video games over 5 days were monitored, and the first of that was Modern Warfare 3. That grossed $775 million over 5 days. And if you're comparing that to the top 5 highest grossing movies over the 5 days. Dark Knight was one of them, or ranked first, and that only managed to clock in $203 million. So that certainly gives you some perspective on the kind of dollars this market is raking in. Well, it's the last official day in the meantime for schools in South Africa, and we're focusing on various topics around education. Out our programming today, one of the challenges facing corporates is that graduates are not work ready, and I caught up with John Botha, who's Executive Director of Strategy at Production Management Institute, and spoke to him about the education system.
Absolutely, and it's been for some time. I think the fact that it's been centralized under Minister Nzimande, where we now have an opportunity to align primary, secondary and tertiary education. But I think that time is running out and we need to move more quickly.
Of course, there's a difference between education, so conferred qualifications, and then skills apt for a specific job, and that's a distinction that we probably need to highlight perhaps more so than we have in the past, because while there are large numbers of vacancies, in higher skilled jobs, it doesn't make sense that there are just as high numbers of unemployed graduates.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. The reality is that the economic and financial crisis has highlighted the need for companies to have